Good morning. Today is a combination bread, communion, and Thanksgiving sing. So we're all going to start. We're all going to sing all of these things. I hope you're in good voice. I'm sorry you were not here for the warm-ups. But please join us for the prelude, which is on page 69. 68. Or 68.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Unitarian Church. My name is 𝗕𝗿𝗶. I am a board member of this congregation, and I'd like to personally wish a very warm UU welcome to our visitors this morning. We encourage you to join us after the service for coffee in the atrium. We do have red mugs for our visitors. Hopefully there are some here today. But I'm going to deviate from the script a little bit right now and just talk a little bit about the lifeblood of a church or any nonprofit, which is two things: money and people. You'll hear quite a lot about our fundraising activities, and Carl Drake would be happy to talk to you about our endowment fund drive. I'd like to bring up an aspect that many times gets lost, but is of similar importance. Fresh faces and new people in the pews on Sundays and walking through the doors during the week to enjoy our programs that we offer here at the church. These are equally necessary for our long-term existence as a church. If you enjoy what the UU offers relative to a spiritual journey without the threat of eternal damnation, please share it with your friends, family, or relatives or acquaintances. What's an easy way to do this, you ask? Well, I have a couple of suggestions. Review the activities each week, many of which are open to everyone, and you can look in your order of service. Usually the yellow sheet has all our activities. You can go on our website. There's a calendar. There's the circuit rider you can subscribe to, and things like that to keep you abreast as to what's going on in the church. But we have things such as drumming, Tai Chi, Zen Buddhist book group, practice and soul matters groups. And the other thing you can do is take a look at the back of your order of service. And on the bottom there, it has what Brian is going to be preaching, a sermon topic for the next week. And next week's sermon is Thanks, Sharing, and Service, reflecting on gratitude and connection. where everyone, it says, will be invited to share words of thanks, joy, or appreciation to help remind us of the goodness we find in one another, which I think we can all appreciate today. We do need to find and see goodness in each other. So if you know of anyone that may be interested in that topic of gratitude next Sunday, or one of our other groups that meets during the week, please feel free to invite them to join you. We understand that some people's discretionary income is limited, but the ability to invite others to share in these experiences with you in community is unlimited. Now back to our regular program. Since 1858, UU Wausau has been a leading voice for progressive beliefs in central Wisconsin. We're an intentionally free and inclusive community that welcomes everyone, regardless of age, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or economic status. As you drove or walked here this morning, you probably passed several churches on your way. Many churches and their corresponding religions are like a fishbowl, confined to certain specific areas or beliefs. So what makes this church different or unique? We're not a fishbowl. Instead, we strive to encompass the entire ocean of spiritual beliefs, or in many people's case, non-beliefs. So wherever you may be on life's path or your own spiritual journey, you not only belong, you are fully accepted here. If that's what you've been searching for, I'd like to personally welcome you home. In between Sundays, as I mentioned, you're invited to participate in our events and classes during the week. Again, when you're looking at either the announcements in the yellow section in here or on the website or Circuit Rider, don't just look for yourself. Think about other people that may be interested in those same topics or whatever the offering is during the week, whether it's a book group or Tai Chi or something else, or drumming. I tried it once, it was pretty fun. And be sure to subscribe to our church's newsletter, the Circuit Rider, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates. I also have a few announcements they've asked me to share. Poinsettia memorials. This holiday season help brighten our sanctuary with poinsettias. You're invited to honor or remember a loved one with a suggested donation of $25. All tributes will be listed in the Christmas Eve program. Donors are welcome to take their poinsettias home after the service. We're also looking for volunteers to help set these up once they arrive, sometime after December 8th. If you'd like to help, please contact the church office. Big Brothers Big Sisters gift giving program. We still have a few littles with holiday wishes waiting to be matched with a gift giver. By shopping for a little, you're giving more than just presents. You're offering hope, kindness, and a sense of belonging. Join us in brightening a child's holiday through Big Brothers Big Sisters in partnership with the First UU Church of Wausau. All gifts need to be dropped off at the church by Thursday, December 4th. If you're interested or have questions, please reach out to Chris at the church office. We also have some closures and cancellations coming up next week. The church office will be closed Thursday, November 27th. Events canceled on November 26th are the knitting group, the choir alto sectionals, the UU choir practice, and events canceled on November 27th are Tai Chi and choir, tenor, and bass sectionals. I was also given another announcement just a few minutes before the service started. The knitting group is doing a project for Janine Russell's Head Start Kids. And if you'd like to help, they need 17 hats. You can pick up the patterns on the front counter by the office. Snow's coming soon, so they're looking for people to help do this. And return those to Cindy Owens when they're finished at the church office. Let's see. Okay, now within that spirit, and as we begin our worship, let's take a moment to extend peace and blessings to one another. Please rise and greet your neighbors. Handshakes and hugs are completely acceptable greetings. Now, dear friends, let us gather our hearts and minds for worship. Please join me in reciting the chalice lighting, referenced in your order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of faith as we gather together. Now please rise in body or spirit for opening hymn number 349, We Gather Together in the gray hymnal.
Welcome to the church's annual bread communion service. I thought I'd ask, just maybe nod your head, how many of you could use a refresher on what this bread communion service is? Yeah, I thought maybe that'd be helpful. How many of you were here at this church in 1969? Doris and Tom. What else? Is there Mary Beth, I thought? Louie. Okay, Tom, Doris, okay. Jean, all right. Well, in 1969, my very, very dear friend, my mentor in ministry, he was the minister here. Fresh out of seminary, he went to Meadville Lombard. His name's John Robinson, not the John Robinson you all know. Unless you know him, then he's the other John Robinson you know. He came here, and what he had done is at Meadville, he studied with another person who would go on to be a minister who developed this service. There are lots of variations on it. Sometimes you'll hear it called cornbread communion. But nevertheless, the whole point of it was for the church to gather around Thanksgiving time, to break bread together, to enter into a deeper spirit of fellowship. And John brought this service here in 1969, and this congregation just loved it. They celebrated it. He worked together with 𝗕𝗿𝗃, who some of you knew during Phil's time, and they also helped put together the Thanksgiving Seder service that I think some of you celebrated last Friday. And so John left here just a few years after he arrived in 69, sometime in 71 or 72, and he went down to St. Louis. And so he brought this liturgy, this bread communion liturgy, whose words, by the way, all these prayers that we use are from the original bread communion service that was brought here in the late 1960s. And he brought this service down to St. Louis, where he went on to serve a church for the next 3 decades. And from there, the bread communion service that started here, literally here in this sanctuary, spread throughout the Midwest, spread to the east, and spread to the west. And now it's almost a nationwide liturgy that Unitarian Universalist churches that started right here. So it's sort of a place of pride that we do, and we get to eat a lot of carbs on a Sunday morning, which is good. So I invite you to enjoy these words anew, even though they've been spoken in this space many times. I always hear them new or hear something new every time we share them. And so in the responsive reading portions, the bits that are bold, I invite you to join your voices together in reciting them. For the goods of the harvest, the stores of which are laid up for the nourishment of the children of creation, for all those who work while we sleep, that we might have life more abundantly, for the beauty which refreshes and renews us. Lest we forget our dependence upon the good earth, lest we remove ourselves too completely from the source of our well-being, lest in our pride we forget that from dust we came and unto dust we will return.
This morning, I'd like to share with you a story about a village where no one agreed on anything. People kept their doors shut and certainly didn't share their kitchens. They didn't even speak to each other, and they certainly didn't bake together. One day, a traveler arrived in this village, and all she had was a weird little cookbook, a curious-looking stone. And in the middle of the town square, she pulled out a mixing bowl. She added a little bit of water, and bloosh, dropped in the stone. "What are you asking?" a passerby said. "Why, stone bread," the traveler said with a knowing smile. "It's an old recipe, and the stone makes the softest, most fragrant bread in the world." "You're going to make bread from water and a stone?" questioned the villager. "Of course, this is a magic stone, but a bit of flour really would bring it to life. If you had some to give, I'd happily share my bread with you." So, not wanting to miss out on the magic bread, the villager returned with a scoop of flour. And they added the flour to the bowl, and then more and more villagers walked by, curious what this magic bread was, and they went back to their homes and brought more ingredients out. See, first came some olive oil to make the bread nice and luscious. And someone brought some herbs to make the bread nice and savory. Someone else brought yeast so the bread would rise nicely. And someone else brought salt to give it a little bit of seasoning. And this kept going on and on. More and more villagers brought out more ingredients. And the dough grew with each gift, and soon the bowl was overflowing with dough. And it came time to knead the bread. Of course, they did argue a little bit. One person insisted the best way to knead bread was with his feet. He washed them, of course. And they laughed as they kneaded together. And when it came time to shape the dough, they all worked together, not wanting to miss out on this magic bread. Some shaped rolls, others made braided loaves. And when the baking started, the smell of this delicious bread wrapped the whole village in yeasty warmth. And by sunset, everyone was sitting together in the square, tearing off pieces of this fresh bread and telling stories and wondering why they had kept so much to themselves. And the stone, of course, well, it just sat in the bowl, empty, waiting quietly for the next town in need of a little magic to remember what it means to be generous and to share. And that was our very brief time for All Ages for today. Thank you to my volunteers who helped make our bread come to life. We are worshiping as a community of all ages this morning, which means everyone is going to be remaining in the sanctuary. So I invite you to bless everyone here and everyone joining us online with our children's song. The words are printed in your order of worship.
The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just out of habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place in our community. This offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value personally, as well as the purpose of this congregation within central Wisconsin. With these gifts freely given, may we say yes to our own personal values and those of our faith. The mission and ministry of UU Wausau is made possible by the generous support of you, its friends and members. You can place a gift in the donation plate as it passes by, or you can visit our website, uuwausau.org, to make a one-time or reoccurring gift with your credit or debit card. Thank you for your ongoing support and commitment to this church and its foundational purpose within the greater community.
I'd like to invite everyone to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. You're welcome to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. You can uncross your legs and connect your feet to the ground. I think it's nice to take a couple of cleansing breaths. Take them full. Fill your lungs totally up. Hold it for a moment. Breathe out slowly. Take a moment and let yourself feel your heart in your chest, the air stirring on the top of your head. And if you can, quiet your mind. Let us pray. Spirit of life in this season when we're told to be grateful, some of us can't quite get there. Our hearts feel stretched thin, our minds won't settle, the world is heavy and so are we. Help us find even the smallest doorway into gratitude, not because we should, but because we need a place to rest. Blessed are we who come just as we are, with our loneliness and loss, our fear of not having enough, all those worries about money, our exhaustion from trying to hold everything together for everyone else. Blessed are we who whisper, there is just not enough right now. I don't have enough time or clarity or strength or hope. Blessed are we who dare to say it and trust that honesty is holy too. Spirit of compassion, meet us here in this space between the joy we're supposed to feel and the lives we're actually living. Help us set down what is too heavy to breathe, to be held by something larger than our striving. And somehow, mysteriously, may there be rest and gladness for tiny, ordinary graces, the warmth of a hand, a quiet morning, the kindness of a stranger. Blessed are we who notice even one small gift and say simply, thank you. Blessed are the weary, blessed are the searching, blessed are the honest in heart, for compassion belongs to us too. And now, remembering the joys and sorrows of our lives, let us hold them in shared silence and meditate now. Amen. Please stay seated as we sing prayer hymn number 21 in the Gray Book, For the Beauty of the Earth. If you would please join me in another responsive reading. For all the substance and shape of times past and days gone by, for all the effort and hope and love poured into our lives by others, known and unknown, for the heritage which is ours, gifted by generations long dead. Lest we forget our rootage in the deeds and visions of the past, lest our arrogance lead us to forsake the human love which supports and sustains us, lest we forget the resources bequeathed to us by the great body of humanity. We acknowledge our debt to past generations. Special thanks to our choir for music this morning. And good morning to all of you. Nice to see you. So on December 1st, just a few days from today, the place my family has called home for nearly 4 decades, 37 years to be exact, will no longer be our family home. The house my mom bought after she and my dad split up, the house she raised me and my sisters in, the house she would remarry in, the house I trashed many times, hosting many unauthorized parties, the house just a few months ago my mom's baby sister died in, the house with literally a pet cemetery in the backyard, my childhood home, it will soon be someone else's. I used to think that family and home were sort of like plants instead of people. I'll tell you what I mean by that. I thought that they were more or less stationary, that the most movement people or old family homes did was they would just maybe sway in the wind just a little bit. And yes, they'd maybe die in winter, but there would always be seedlings around the roots that would spring up again right where the old ones were. And plants have this wonderful vertical way of life. They grow up, and they grow up, and then they wither, and then they fall. But we humans have what kind of life? We have a horizontal life. And we sort of think about life as if it's traveling between two mysteries with a series of stops along the way between birth and that unknown destination every single one of us are headed toward. And we think in terms of movement, don't we? We feel motion. We make motion. We tend to think that our lives move from event to event to event. Our lives are imagined as what? Opportunities we seize, crisis we avoid. If you just think about it, just think about this with me for a few minutes. Just think about how many metaphors of movement they are in our language. Here's my list that I came up with. We go into a new career. How do we fall in love? We fall in love. We enter into marriage. We arrive at decisions. We run for office. We stand up for beliefs. We sleep on the job. We run into trouble. We go to sleep. We strike out in new directions. We get sidetracked. We get stopped in our tracks. We pick ourselves up, and we relax by going on vacation. And we encourage people whenever they're young that you're going to need to go the extra mile. And what do we tell all those old people in our midst? You need to keep up with the times. And what do we say to the narrow-minded? Try walking in another person's shoes. And then at the end of life, we pass on. So many of humankind's great stories are journeys of movement. All the best ones, right? Homer's Odyssey, Star Wars, The Owl and the Pussycat, Eat, Pray, Love, Noah's Ark, Gilgamesh, Around the World in 80 Days. But I'm not really sure life has any more movement through time than really we're sort of stationary and time is just flowing around us. I sort of wonder if it seems like a journey because we are mobile creatures. Whatever the reality, life is sort of a trip. And maybe all this movement, this sense of never quite arriving anywhere for long, is why simple things, they come to matter so much. Why we cling to tables, why we cling to meals and rituals like bread communion, why small things can feel like enough. And maybe that's why losing a childhood home hits so hard, or why losing anything, even if it's something that you want to lose, can hurt. It reminds us that our resting places never last forever. So go back in time a little bit, right before Truman Capote published his great book, In Cold Blood, he wrote this short story called The Thanksgiving Visitor. It's about this schoolyard bully who goes by the name of Odd Henderson, who somehow, many years later, he ends up celebrating Thanksgiving at the home of a guy named Buddy, the boy Odd used to absolutely torment and bully in school. And even after all these years, Buddy hates odd. What this story does is it helps you see that Thanksgiving is a holiday unlike any other holiday. In the great hierarchy of holidays, where do you all put Thanksgiving? Is it in the top 5? Yeah, it's like gotta be up there. Just Boxing Day, Thanksgiving, that's where it goes for me. And if you think about Thanksgiving, it's really good for lazy people because you don't have to put any lights on the porch. You don't have to buy even one costume. You don't have to rush out and buy any candles. You don't even have to dress up. How many of you will eat Thanksgiving in your pajamas? You can raise your hand. This is a non-judgmental place. Right? What is Thanksgiving? My daughter's raising her hand. What is Thanksgiving? It's just a Thursday in November. And at Thanksgiving, the meal is the center. And while the meal gets a lot of attention, we all know the main event at Thanksgiving is all those people around the table. Just think about all the tiring tasks you have to do. You have to polish things, you have to scrub, you have to peel, you have to boil, you have to bake, you have to broil, you have to clean. All these boring tasks that you have to do. But at Thanksgiving, they turn our homes into a sanctuary. Our homes become a sanctuary where we come together to celebrate. All those tasks become holy tasks. At Thanksgiving, everyday things we use and take for granted, they have this sacramental quality. Your dining room becomes an altar where over in the corner an empty chair might remind you of some loved one who has passed on. Or someone can say a prayer and unexpectedly you might feel small in the world, but then you'll realize that you make other people's lives great. And I think maybe this is why we gather for bread communion each year, so that we practice receiving the small, receiving those ordinary gifts that sustain us, the daily bread, the moment's grace, the harvest that really is no season at all, but a posture of the heart. Because Thanksgiving isn't really a day, Thanksgiving is a process. If you think about it, Thanksgiving grows a little more complicated, a little harder to celebrate every year. How many of you have been watching Ken Burns' new documentary, The American Revolution? It is yet another pin popping America's very sanitized version of pilgrims and Native Americans. Today's kids, I didn't grow up learning this, but today's kids, they grow up. They grow up learning words like what? Colonialism and ethnic cleansing. These are everyday words in history class now. And this is a painful reality. It's helpful, but it's good to know the truth. But I guess since even the age-old version of Thanksgiving isn't available anymore, really Thanksgiving is left to us, which depending on your family, and I know this, sometimes Thanksgiving can be a little bit bleak. As 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗱 says in the Thanksgiving Visitor, the problem person at the table could really end up being us. The family story could be infected with lots of harsh memories from the past. Maybe you're in one of those families where people never get to escape who they used to be. Those same old stories just keep getting repeated time after time after time. But I hope that there is a different version for you. I hope that Thanksgiving is something like this. I hope it's you and your family, or you and maybe some strangers, or maybe it's you and you really should consider thinking about getting sober relative, and you're standing together in the kitchen when someone says something awful, and instead of retribution, someone assigns grace. Because I think every single one of us need grace. And so this year, to celebrate our church's annual bread communion, I brought to the table, my wife brought it for me, I made a loaf of banana bread with chocolate in it, as well as walnuts. I made it with chocolate, I'll tell you why. I made it with chocolate because I believe this in the bottom of my heart. If you are going to consume sugar, you should do it like your life depends on it. There is no stevia or Splenda will do. There is nothing in this that will spare your waistline, and this will certainly not please your family physician. This is what I believe. Desserts should be dangerous. That's what I think. They should remind you that life is short and life is sweet and life is always better shared. And then I put walnuts in it for this reason, so that I don't forget that all of you are a little bit nuts. And that's okay. Really, it's okay. Because life is hard, and life is weird, and life is amazing. And we are called back to ourselves over and over again by one another. We're called back by saying grace and remembering that Thanksgiving isn't a place. It is a process of seeing that every single day is holy. And so I invite all of you to come forward now to the microphone, to the table, and you can share your bounty and you can share your story. So please come forward now.
Good morning, everybody. I'm bringing a loaf of bread from my partner Felix, who doesn't come to church with me, but whenever there's food involved, Felix is right there. So he baked this for everybody this morning.
I bought some beet bread today, and it's called 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗂, and it comes from my grandmother and the recipe, and it is Ukrainian and Polish, kind of a mixture. They all love beets and carrots, and it's not for everybody because it has a lot of black pepper in it.
Good morning, everyone. We brought a loaf of sesame seed bread from a bakery because just getting out of the door is a big event. From a bakery in Stevens Point that we often buy when we have people over for dinner.
Good morning. I brought half a loaf of bread that I baked yesterday from my freezer. Typically, we bring a bread that is a childhood thing that we always did, but my mother's not well and wasn't able to make it or come. And I do this thing where I subscribe, and some beautiful people who make bread freeze it and send it to me, and I put it in my freezer, and then I can have really delicious bread whenever I want, which I'm very, very grateful for and happy to share with you.
I brought some yeast rolls from a recipe that I've never baked before. It's from my son-in-law, who I didn't realize till I asked him for the recipe involved 16 steps. But it also touches back. My grandmother was famous for her yeast rolls, and they were partly how my dad's mom wooed my mom. So there's old and new in these rolls.
I can relate to the 16 steps. Mine only took 2. I went to the store and I laid down some money. That's my kind of recipe. So last year I had brought Irish soda bread because I'm part Irish. So, okay, what am I going to bring this year? Well, I'm also part French, so I brought some little mini croissants. And I like your chocolate idea. They're covered with chocolate. So, enjoy.
Please join me in blessing the bread. Responsive readings in your bulletin. For that power at work among us which transforms, renews, and redeems life. For that power which will not suffer us to be satisfied with what we are. For that power which, through love, sustains and supports us. Lest we forget our dependence upon powers over which we have no control. Lest in our discouragement we cease to listen for that still small voice. Lest we forget the goodness that leads upon paths we do not see. Please rise now in spirit or body and open in the gray hymnal to 128, For All That Is Our Life. If you'll receive these blessing words, I invite you to reach out with your heart. If you came with someone today, you can reach out and take their hand. May the truth that sets us free, and the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out fear lead us forward together until the day spring breaks and all shadows flee away. Please relax, enjoy this postlude, and join us for the bread communion.